Episode 26. 26 episodes deep. If this is your first episode with us, we've loads of others on YouTube. Bang back through them. Give the page a like, subscribe, check them out. There's loads of them back there. All types of stories. Today I have my mentor, my dad. My dad is his second appearance on the podcast. Yuuuup the Lal. So today, if you want to flash back to me dad's one and check out his sporting career and his very first episode, today we're going to take a different topic, and it revolves around, I suppose, it's going to revolve around depression, anxiety, and what true masculinity is. You know, so you're very welcome, Dad.
Thanks, John.
I suppose growing up, looking back, I think about things every now and again. I was thinking about the times we had together in Spain on the bikes, and the time we went to Flanders, the Tour of Flanders, across all them cobbles. Me and you done, what was it, 250 kilometres?
That's right, yeah.
Up the Bosberg and the Kappelmoor and all
unbelievable.
Oudenaarde.
And the icy cold rain.
Oh, man.
And after 50k at the start, I said, we've had enough of this when we're starting. Yeah. We went to a cafe. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And the smoke of the Belgians. And they're all calling me pussy. And when they came out then, we're all warm. I said, you're right, Sean. And we had a great day.
And this just goes to show you our mindset, which necessarily our mindset, I've learned to tweak it a bit, but it isn't, it can be bad in the opposite way, because out of 15 of us that went to that, me and you were the only two who officially finished it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Me and you were the only two
right.
who officially finished it. Yeah. In the pissings of rain across cobbles and fucking in northern Belgium. Not nice weather. But anyway.
I had to go across there. That's a great memory for you. One of the best memories of me, I had a good luck to win the race. And a friend of ours was second and John was third. We finished fourth, second and third. Oh, yeah. And we all lived in Bettyglen, Raheny. Yeah, and we used to call that Team Bettyglen. Yeah. And that to me was great. We had to, and that was an elite race. That was a terrific day for us.
That was nice to be able to do together.
Yeah.
And then I suppose I'm going to talk about this, about being tough, about being hard. And I used to think, and you used to think, this is the mindset we had, but we were hard. You know, if anybody knows me and anybody knows, we're tough, hard men. I remember in the park, Phoenix Park, on a Wednesday night, I fell. A group of us fell and I broke my arm.
That's right.
And I went to the ambulance. Well, I didn't know it was broken at the time. And I went to the ambulance. And she said to me, can you do this and can you do that and can you do the other and can you bend it and grab it? And I could do all that stuff. And I came home, I went into work. I couldn't, I was an electrician at the time. I was really struggling to use the pliers that day. That was the Thursday. I was really struggling on the Friday. I couldn't do it. And I was like, I'm going to go to the hospital. So I went to the hospital on the Saturday. My arm was broken in 2 places. And there was a time trial coming up that I wanted to ride. And it was in 11 days' time. So my arm was broken in 2 places. And I came home to you and I says, my arm's broken in 2 places. I won't be able to ride that time trial in 11 days' time. And you said to me, you wouldn't want to be paying any attention to them doctors. They're only used to dealing with sick people. Right. We're athletes. We're different. So we have a stationary bike. It's called a turbo trainer if people don't realise what it is. So you put your bike on it and you can cycle it indoors. So, of course, my arm was in bits and I'm doing my sessions on this turbo trainer for the next couple of days. And 11 days later, I rode the time trial painfully and won it.
That's right.
With an arm that was broken in 2 places. So, and we laugh about that and stuff, but sometimes embracing pain like that, there's a fine line.
I agree with you.
You know what I mean? And what we're going to talk about is you suffered with depression and were hospitalised for depression.
And I did hospitalise myself, you
Yes,
know?
yeah. You hospitalised yourself. And because the way what was happening, and when we keep, as I would as a man, and as you rode a tour of Ireland with a broken arm, we just don't acknowledge the pain. We just keep going. You know what I mean? Which necessarily what we know now is kind of not a good thing. It can be good in certain ways, you know. Sometimes you have to bite down on the old gum shield and go for your best, and other times it's to know the difference.
Yeah, but also, John, we say as fellas that are really soft, and if you break a nail, they're out for a month.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't want to be like that either.
No.
But well, I talk about myself when I start great bonkers, some of the stuff I did. I mean, I was plastering there to there. And I kept going out training with sponge on the handlebars, right? And the doctor said, that won't be over 6 weeks. And I said to myself, I'm riding an 8-day race in a month's time, whether he likes or not. So I cut the plaster on fancy bit and made it and rode. We broke it in an 8-day race.
Yeah.
Now, when I look back and think, the person would have fallen.
Yeah.
So I'm just going on what you say. And I agree with you.
But we'll talk about the depression now. And this is a word that goes around and is used a lot, and depression and anxiety. And I'm very mindful of people that come onto the podcast because I'm wary sometimes. And I discussed with you before, and, you know, I'm always mindful of people that come on. I'm not here looking to hang-drawn quarter people and expose them for YouTube or a podcast. I'm mindful, you know, you've been around, you're out the other side of that depression a long time now. Thankfully. And the reason why I wanted to get you on is with your age category, there would be tons of people out there that are self-medicating every weekend, that are not talking about how they feel because of a generation where they come from.
Here.
It's a generational thing.
Yeah, bang, you know what I mean? There. Yes, definitely.
It's a generational thing. And like depression and anxiety, it's your body's way of letting you know that the way you're living it's the sanest way of the way you're living. It's there's something to be looked at. Do you know what I mean? There's something going on. There's something going on there that we need to fix and remedy and find a place for. You know what I mean?
But my generation look upon that as pull yourself together.
Yeah.
No, I was one of those people, pull yourself together, son. Completely wrong. So now, I just have to come in here, John, first of all. There's a big difference between depression and the blues and being fed up.
Right.
Now, I broke my pelvis, I broke my shoulder, I broke my wrist, I broke my collarbone. I can't remember what I didn't break. And that was horrific pain. And that is nothing compared to what people are going through with depression and anxiety. It's 10 hells one after the other, and there's no escape. And the pain of it is worse than any physical pain. I've been there, and I'm trying to get out of the hole. But I'd like people to really understand that and be more Christian and caring, because it's the worst possible thing can happen to any person. Sorry if I'm getting a bit carried away. That's why I'm just trying to get that across to people.
And so I remember what kind of led up, and depression, it's funny because it affects everyone different. And my kids were young at the time, like Max was young, I think Christian was only born. And I remember you hospitalising yourself, that you just didn't want to go on anymore. And I remember it. I remember the man I knew and the cyclist and stuff like that. it's not a nice thing to see someone so tormented in themselves and so withdrawn and stuff like that. So, and what am I going to say next? It's a number of factors. It's not just one thing. It's so many stuff, so much stuff. But when you decided to go into, you went into St. Pat's.
Yeah.
Take me back to that. Because I'm going into St. Pat's.
Well, there's a bit of black humour there as well, because we'll get back to other things later on, but I just couldn't cope anymore. I knew if I knew I didn't get some sort of help, I was going to be dead in a few hours. And I was going to Pat's, and it was an odd thing, but I said, I have to give this a shot anyway, you know. But when I walked in, there was a fella from Malahide, and like, I would never believe he was sick, you know. What's your name? I said, Sean Lally. Yeah. Another failure. I said, what do you mean? You failed to commit fucking suicide, didn't you? We're all here, all of us are the same. And I said,
just
Jesus
take
Christ.
your hand down, just speak into the mic.
I said, Christ almighty, I couldn't believe that the black humour. And he was right, the failures, because we didn't do the job properly.
And I remember you telling me you were driving around, you had a rope in your boot.
I had, yeah.
You had a rope
And
in
I
your
had
boot.
a place and all to do it, yeah.
Picked out, and I remember kind of going, "Oh, me, that's," and so you went into Pat's, and how did that go for you?
Well, I had a very, 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 very good stroke of luck, because I was people don't seem to understand when you have this kind of head trouble, your brain never rests. It's going 24/7, morning, noon and night, you can get no rest. And you're asking yourself questions there's no answer to. There's no answer to every question, but you're in that state of mind. When I look back, I can't believe that was me. That sounds ridiculous. I can't believe that was me. But you're going 24/7 and you give hand for the sleep. And I went in then, they highly medicate you, you know. I'm not anti-drug, you have to have it. But I was very fortunate. I was in there and I was getting inch by inch, and then I'd go backwards again. And one night there, I was rambling about 3 in the morning, you know, and this young male nurse, he's probably 25, 35, and says he, "Are you Sean Lally the cyclist?" I said, yeah. Says he, "What the fuck are you doing in here?" I said, "You look at the body, it looks okay, doesn't it? It's just as bonkers." And I says, I'm like a zombie going around, you know. I can hardly get to the shower in the morning, exhausted and all, you know. This is there a while there, you know. He says, "Sean, I have to tell you this. I don't have to tell you, but I'll tell you what. It's just certain drugs that you feel are really killing you. Just refuse them. You don't have to take them. There's alternatives." But I said, you have to. So, hand out the drugs the next morning, certain drugs, I don't want them. Okay, you fill out a form. And to change it a bit. And I got a little bit better, you know. But then I was going on for a while, and I felt I was getting nowhere. I said, I'm going to be here forever. And then I had a good fortune. My sister-in-law works in one of those places, and she said, "Sean, would you not try and change a psychiatrist?" So he said, "Try and get a man for older people, you know. I think they call them geriologists or whatever they call it." So there's no sign of it happening. So eventually came along, you know. And when I did go in, I said, I want every test possible. I want dementia test, Alzheimer's. I want everything. I want my head straightened if I can get out of here, you know. So I didn't know this, but at the time they were asking me all stupid questions. What day is it? Who's the president of America? Where's Cuba? Who's the oldest president? What day is it? And what the fuck are you up to? But make a long story boring. He said, "You know what I'm testing your answer for? You passed them with flying colours. Forget about that." Now I said, "Sean, I have to tell you this. Do you really want me to bring it down to where the old people are?" I said, "No." He said, "These are all young people." Says he, "I can't put you on your age bracket," because you're not made that way. So he was a big step to help me. He changed stuff for me as well, and the male, that other male nurse. You know, so I was very fortunate in that respect as well. And also, originally, I got a psychologist, right? And three of them, now hold on, I went to three different psychologists. Now, they're probably excellent people in the job, but they went for me because the first one I got, your appointment is for 10 in the morning. They see a 5 past, I'm getting you out the door then, 5 minutes before your time is up. And another one had me filling out forms I did every hour of every day. And my wife kept saying, Sean, you'll give it a chance. I said, they're no use. And I won't mention the guy's name, but I got a psychologist. And this man would not take on anybody. If their wife rang up, or their brother or the sister, you had to ring up. So I'm jumping ahead now. I'm out of hospital at this time. But we can back to hospital if you want to. And he was very, very good. He said to me, have you been anywhere else? I said, yeah. And he said, this is what he said to me. So you're supermarket shopping, are you? What do you mean? You went to Super Quinn, you went to Lidl, you went to Aldi. And you thought they were no use. I said, did they? Yeah. Then why are you here with me? And says, if I'm no use, you'll fuck me over as well. That's the very words of psychologist. And that man, I owe him everything. But I had a row with him after going for a long time. He wouldn't accept any responsibility for getting me straight. And he always insisted that he gave me the tools to do it myself. And one day I wouldn't leave his house until he took some responsibility for the action. So we did. I was pleased in that. Sorry, I'm losing the plot. I'm getting carried away here. Sorry if I am.
And I'm not mentioning his name either, but I've never met him, and I know where he lives, and I'm very thankful for the work that he done for you. But you told me that before he agreed to take you on, he'd read up a lot on you, and he kind of said, "Well, here's a bloke that's not gonna be shy on doing the hard work that I'm going to ask him to do." You know,
he told me that toward the end. Well, I said, how are you so sure you get me back? Right, Sean, you might laugh at this. We're much the same age. I live in Inchicore, like you, from a humble background. And I didn't even ask a question. And said, I used to go to Phoenix Park and see you racing and winning races. And then he says, you had the same, you always walked. And so you trained, you had discipline. And he told me afterwards, I really felt you were a candidate for getting back to 100%.
Yeah.
I said, I wish I had that confidence in me as you had.
And it's great we can even have this conversation, because I used to go in and visit you. And I remember I used to sit in the car park after I visited you and just bawl me fucking eyes out. And Yvonne, I come home to Yvonne with the kids and you say, how's your dad? You say, he's great. He's great. And I remember one day I went in to visit you and it was all scaffolding up around the place in the hospital. And a patient had got out, climbed up the scaffolding and threw himself off it dead. And I remember it was a bit rough, do you know what I mean? And I remember going, Jesus Christ, it was rough. And I was saying this to someone there a while ago. When you were in there, and I talked to high-level athletes, and the margin between genius and madness is very fine.
Oh, I know.
Very fine.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And not just genius intelligence, sporting. And you were in there, and when you were in there, there was two other athletes I knew who were high level, like above international level. Both of them guys are not with us anymore.
Oh, I know who you're talking about too. Yeah.
Both of them guys are not with us anymore.
Yeah.
So we're extremely lucky that you're still here and that you put in the hard work and got stuck in and we're blessed to get through that. You know what I mean?
But I have to tell you this as well, John. When I came up, I went up to look at a race one day, and one of the lads said to me, "Where were you, Sean?"
Just the sound is
sorry. Where you been, Sean? Actually, Brendan Culleton, the photographer, takes all the photograph of the finishes, you know. Well, Brendan, I was very sick. I was just saying, Pat, he said, great to see you back, you know. And I'd no hang up to it whatsoever because I was sick and that was it. And then I was really pleased then. I'm not sure I won't mention it, but a few lads came to me. It was just a regular thing. Jesus, Sean, look at you. I never think you're a depressive person. And I said to all people, tell me what a depressive person looks like. I said, see all those guys there? All those people out there? Loads of them. But we don't know. But I was very fortunate because a couple of the lads, without mentioning names, were in trouble. Not that I helped them, but I pointed in the right direction, and a few of them thanked me. And even if I helped one person, that's a success for me.
And with your depression, it was a number of things. It was excessively tired, your age. You know, if your mum had died previous, a few little, it's never one thing. It's always the couple of pebbles. You know what I mean? In the shoe, it's never just one big thing. It's the small little ones. And you had a bit of stuff going on, and I remember looking at you, and sometimes the body, like, and as we were talking before, like minding yourself around tiredness, not being a pussy, but watching yourself around tiredness. And then how we fuel ourselves with food, that can be, it's important as well, because if you're eating garbage 24/7, not saying that you were, but if you're eating garbage 24/7, you're not refueling your body properly. And then that body is not producing the levels of hormones, testosterone, all these hormones and anabolics to keep your body working as it should be. And then what I noticed, what used to happen to you is when your sleep is interrupted. When my sleep is interrupted, I'm like a bleeding antichrist the next day. Do that to someone for 4 or 5 days and see what they're like. And I remember the sleep thing. You weren't sleeping at night. And you couldn't sleep.
And your brain is going boom, boom, boom all the time, unfortunately.
Yeah. And so we're jumping all over the place, but I remember at the time you were in the depths of despair. And Yvonne, there's a guy from the UK who Yvonne fucking thinks is amazing, and I think he's very good too. Dr. Patrick Halford. Yeah. And Yvonne was saying, I'm going to get your parents, because you were at the lowest rung at this stage. Yeah. I'm going to get your parents 2 tickets to go and see him. And I said, don't bother your bollocks. They wouldn't be into that. They wouldn't be into all that newfangled shite. Yeah. And she was like, well, I'm going to get them anyway. And she rang me ma, and she said, this bloke is here, and he's a doctor, and he deals with depression and helping through food. And so me ma said, yeah, I'll go. And she did you go with her?
Yeah, I was in Pat, and we left Pat and went out to Stillorgan Parker, was out in Stillorgan Road, you know.
And you spoke to him after it, and he had a look at your prescription or something, did he? And said, what did he say? What he suggested was, I'm sketchy on this because my mom told me. So he was saying, don't take that, don't take that, don't take that. And he said he has his own brand of vitamins and minerals. And this is what I love to hear. He's like, the stuff he needs, I don't even sell. So get X, Y, Z to me mom about fatty acids and minerals and stuff like that. And
now there's fishy stuff. You go to your brain. I can't remember the name of it. You probably remember it.
Fish oils.
Yeah.
Fish oils, omega-3s.
Yeah.
And how did you find, was that a bit of a help, or was that no help whatsoever?
Yeah, you see,
it's a few things. It's not just one thing.
All the 0.5% add up. But the most important thing is sleep. Even for your normal life, if you're just a bricklayer or just a TV cameraman, an electrician, a plumber, if you're not sleeping properly, continuously, something is going to go. We're a bit careless. And then, unfortunately, the world we live in, all our families, there's not one family not affected by abuse of alcohol. Whether it's a granny, a granddad, an uncle, a brother, a sister, that. And we all have that in our family. And sometimes we can be products of that kind of stuff, and we think that's normal, but it's not normal. Because I'm from Cabra West originally, you know, and you would call it a deprived estate, a deprived housing, but we didn't know any different. Everyone was the same, you know what I mean? But the intake of alcohol, there's a pub there who'd be full every night of the week, you know, and this sounds ridiculous, but most of the men died 60, 65, and it was looked upon, I did good innings. It was, they were slaves and only getting barely paid. And, I mean, you can give everybody a fella drinking too much, but he's in a little house, 3 bedrooms with a load of kids. He comes home from work, oh, gee, he's going up for a pint. And it's easy to fall into that. And, like, that's the way it was. It was an awful time for everybody. Like, you get a load old farts like me talking about the good old days. These are the good old days. These are great days. Who'd want that back?
Yeah.
And then you get my age group saying, well, no, it was your age. The kids don't want to know that.
Yeah.
What the kids are born into now, they just accept it. I'm getting away from the point. Sorry, John.
No worries. No, it's kind of, with you saying that, you know, we don't have to go into it, but I understand where you came from. And sometimes, as a teenager and the relationship we have a different relationship. We did a great relationship, and then teenage and late teenage years, I went off the reservation, as most teenagers do, and you're angry and you're rageful and stuff, and then you kind of come back into the fold. You look at your parents sometimes, and somebody said this to me a while ago, it's like, you look at your parents and you say, they didn't do this and they didn't do that and they didn't do the other. When you look at your parents now, you remember they're the children of children.
Here.
Do you know what I mean? Nobody gets a sheet for this is how you do things properly. You try your best.
The day we're born, you got a little book. Here's how you do it right. We'd be all perfect.
Yeah.
We're all frail human beings. Everyone, we all have. Nobody is perfect.
Yeah, and we try our best. But I remember I picked you up from Pat's and I was bringing you back to me ma's, and you were after getting that electric shock therapy. I remember seeing the marks on the side of your head, and you were still a bit frazzled. And I'm driving you home, and I'm after been talking to you, and yet we were coming across down by Guinness's across to get on the north side of the quays to come home, and you turned in and you looked at me and goes, "Who are you again?" You know?
Yeah, well, you see, it blacked out your brain for a certain time, but I knew that before.
Yeah.
Like, I always asked, like, here's what I found, which this mightn't go down to some psychiatrists and all that, but were giving me stuff, I can't remember the name of it now, John. But any drugs I got, I said, I want the bump on it, you know, the stuff you read.
Yeah.
No matter what, I read that.
Yeah.
And I can't remember this stuff. But I said, could affect your kidneys, you see.
Lithium it was.
Lithium, yeah.
Lithium.
I said, they for real.
It didn't say could, it says it does.
Yeah. So
it
I had
does
an appointment
damage your
with
kidneys.
the psychiatrist I had, you know. I'm had to read that stuff. We get your kidneys checked every few weeks. I said, I'm not having that. Well, that was the end of that. But I was amazed, for example, that the medical profession would bang it on to people and they didn't know the results. You know what I mean?
There's a couple of different people, right? There's certain people that just want pills because they don't want to do the work. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
There's nothing wrong with that. Like, your ma used to go to the doctors and she wanted pills.
Have she got nothing to do? She was robbed.
She didn't want to put in the space. You know what I mean? And there's certain people that just want to go and they want an antibiotic because they don't want to try this and they don't want to try that and they don't. And they're to be catered for. There's nothing wrong with it. And then there's other people that don't want to take that garbage. Do you know what I mean? And they don't want to take it because when you look at them all, they're not good for you, like.
Yeah, but also, if you're missing something in your system, right, and you have this certain drug to keep you living a good life.
Yes.
I would take it. Now, I'm not any drug whatsoever.
Yeah.
On nothing.
Yeah.
No, And I had that, and people say, that, well, what are you on now? I'm on nothing. I've been, never, I was pretty good actually getting away from all that stuff. But then I was very fortunate that I was in love with my sport, and I got back into it again.
Yeah.
And it was a big struggle because whatever gear I was on took months to get out of my system, you know.
And then with the vitamins and the minerals, which are still taken today, what happens is, and I notice this now, I'm 45 and I'm not pulling out the violin here. My body doesn't work like it did when I was 35. It doesn't.
I wish I was 45.
I ran 5k down Portmarnock Beach there yesterday with Yvonne, and she had to fucking wait for me. Like, it's just, your body, now, I'm going to try and get back there, you know what I mean?
Hold on.
But what I'm saying...
Nobody does that best day's work every day.
No.
That's being hard on yourself, capable, which I'm still at.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, your body does age. Yeah. You know, and it's supposed to do these things. And the food and the minerals and the lack of sleep I got away with at 35 and 25. I'm getting away with it now.
Yeah.
And you didn't get away with it.
No, I didn't. I paid for it, yeah.
And it's about looking after ourselves that little bit more to kind of get a fine understanding, because when that all happened to you, I threw myself into educating myself on depression and looking at different, and like your illness changed the way I looked at things and how I educate myself around it, because it's like when you see somebody struggling, instead of just watching them struggling, you educate yourself around it and going, geez, maybe I need to change this and maybe I need to change that, because there's millions of people out there living lives that they're not enjoying.
Yeah, there are, yeah.
And they're self-medicating themselves every weekend or every Thursday night with a bottle of wine or whatever just to get through life. That's not living for me. That's not living, like. And it's like life is more important to me than that. And all the stuff I read, I'd recommend to listeners to read Johann Hari, Lost Connections, Chasing the Scream, Gabor Mate, anything by him. Because, and this is where the issue I had with some of the doctors that were treating you. The way we look in the West here is, if you come in with depression, we just throw drugs at your brain.
That's right.
We don't look at the whole unit. And Gabor Mate talks about this in the West. It's like, what does the man work at? What's his lifestyle? What's his living situation like? What's his family situation like? You know what I mean? Where are these stresses come from? What's his past, previous life, traumatic events in his life? We don't look at any of that. It's like, I'm just going to throw a load of drugs at your brain. Right. And if they don't work, in 3 weeks' time, I'm just going to give you another concoction and another concoction and another concoction. So it's like what we do with heroin addicts. We throw a load of Phyceptone at them and keep them just tipping along. And we don't look at why or try to get them to a solution of how they got there. We just maintain them. And they're not breaking into anyone's house, and we don't give a fuck about them. Whereas that's not really the way that's not really, in my opinion, that's not how we should be treating people. Do you know what I mean? We need to look at the whole system, the way. And Gabor Mate isn't on his own with regard to talking that way. There's so many doctors that are looking at the whole approach rather than just depression to your brain. Yeah. It's like the whole lifestyle approach. And that's the way you went about it, you know, with your sleep patterns.
I didn't know what I
eventually you got there through your psychotherapist, and that's how you got there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You did get there. It took you a while to get there, but you got there. You know what I mean? On that kind of holistic approach, because I'm not going to go into it here now, like events which happened early on in life and then other stuff in the future. I know for myself and the type of character I am, and you're a similar type character as well, we're highly sensitive people. So when them traumas happen, we turn them inwards. Do you know what I mean? So we somehow, we blame ourselves, and our approach to life then and our decisions that we make are not the right decisions.
Yeah, we're a little bit, I'll come in here. We think we're indestructible, actually.
Yeah.
We think we're, but I'll sort it out. We think we're indestructible. And I think it's more with high-powered athletes because train hard, get rid of it and but it's more than that. As I found out the hard way.
And that cognitive behavioral therapy, it's like looking, and I'm not going to wreck people's heads with it. I read up on a lot, and that would have changed the way I think now with regard to a lot of stuff. It's like sometimes when I'm not on the beam and I look at something that comes in my way and it's a problem, if I solely focus on that, it grows horns, it grows legs, it grows arms, and it inflates, you know. Whereas the cognitive behavioral therapy, when I apply that, I need to look at in the background the solution. How do I get around this? How do I get around this? And sometimes, like what yourself, not going into it, when we look at, we're solely focused on that problem. It's when somebody like points us in the direction of them solutions that we get there slowly, if you know what I mean. You know.
Another question people ask: well, how could he kill himself like that? Or how could he this? Or how could he that? But when you reach that the lowest possible state, the lowest possible state, right? You're a nuisance to your family.
Yeah.
The people that love you, you're a nuisance to them. You're no use to yourself.
Yeah.
So if I just end it all, it'll be all over in 2 days, and that's the end of it, and they can all go and live their lives. And when I look back at that was crazy thinking. But at the time, that was the most normal thing for me, because I was causing havoc for everyone else, I felt. And I understand, it sounds awful, but under the mindset of some people that do take their lives. Because when I look back, that was me. If that's frightening anybody, but that was my realism.
I remember a teammate and friend of mine. He passed on. He was about 21. And I remember speaking to his dad just after the funeral. You know, we were all devastated, and he was a really good athlete, and everyone was devastated. And I remember talking to his dad, and his dad said, if I could have put something into him on the previous Wednesday that would have killed him and taken him out of his pain, I would have done it. That's what his own dad said. He was only 21, this young fella, you know. So it's a family disease, you know, and sometimes, as you said, we all look and it's unspoken, but it's everywhere, because, and if anything, it's only getting worse, because the way we live our lives now, we've turned so far away from the way we should be living to what we're chasing, the rat race at the moment. Things are only getting worse.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
They're only getting worse, like, you know. People they're working longer in jobs that they hate and up to their eyes in bleeding debt and all this stuff. And
get to a certain age, then get yellow packs in cheaper, and it's the same stuff again.
It all has to be. So it's really important to listen out for them little triggers.
Yeah.
And look at your life. Take an inventory of your life every week, every day, every month, and look at it. And because as well, when you got sick, all these books that I read, a really good sign is, and I don't get this all the time, but I get it more often than not, is being able to put my head on the pillow at night time and be asleep in 5 minutes.
It's great. Yeah.
They sleep in 5
Or
minutes.
you've had 6 or 8 or 9 months and not sleeping.
If I'm doing 10 rounds in me brain till 4 o'clock in the morning, night after night after night, there's something that needs to be sorted out. And I can't remember. It's been probably 15 years, 20 years since I've had it like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that washing machine racing mind, you know. I put my head on the pillow every night and gone.
Yeah.
You know. But when did you finally see light at the end of the tunnel coming out?
Well, you see, they wanted me to stay in the hospital longer than I should. And it's a little like a cocoon. You're in there, you're not facing reality. Everything's done for you. You go to walk around the place, all that. And I decided one day, my psychologist came along and he said, I'm going home this day 2 weeks. You won't be fully better. I says, I know that. Nobody could possibly live here fully better. Because you have to face reality. Well, he said, someone has to pick you up. I said, Judy? He said, yeah. So Paulie said, you made your mind up. I said, yeah, I'll pick you up. I said, you're not picking me up. He said, you have to. No, you don't. I want to walk over here. I want to get to Lewis and come home on my own. Pay my bus fare. Do a normal thing. I was feeling it all. So Pauline and myself, we had a compromise. All right, Sean. I'll meet you at Easton's and Abbey Street. He said, okay. Now walking over there, I was dreading people, mixing. But I had to make that step.
Yeah.
I had to make that. And it was hard doing certain things. But it's like climbing the mountain. I had to get to the top because if I didn't, I'd be as bad as ever. And that was the struggle there. But I was starting to sleep. And then, slowly but surely, I got the drugs reduced. And then I was on zilch drugs. But physically, they obviously must have been in the system for a long time because I'd be exhausted from the least little thing. I remember, I'll laugh at this, when they were spinning on my own out that hout, right? I got just to Sutton, which is, 4K in the house. I had to get out and sit down at the Marine Hotel and come home. And it was kind of my first spin. I was going to go up all around Hout and back home. I thought about 20k. And Paul said, back very quick. I said I couldn't cycle any further.
Yeah.
And then another time I went out the back of the airport and I did about 10k. I had to get off the bike and I kind of hit the bike in the dishes and in the dishes, in the bushes, yeah. And I lay there for 20 minutes to have a rest and I cycled home. That's how drained I was from, well, the drugs are what I don't know. And then I'd be out with the lads and I'd say, lad, if you see me going, don't worry, I'm turning back. And with that kind of stuff. And I must say that the cycling world, they're very accepting of me and they were great in that respect. And I got back and I was winning races within a year, like, again. You know what I mean? I love, and like, I was out with spin with the lads yesterday. The fellas in work used to say to me, when are you going to go bothered out cycling, you know? And I was like, when are you going to drinking pints?
Yeah.
And you look at you. I said, no, you're a few pints every night. Me got me spin every few days. That's my outlet. You know? And that's right. Like, fellas said, yeah, you're still so, yeah. I says, there, last October, Sean Kelly and the gang, we hadn't seen each other for a while. So we wanted down on the weekend in Kelly. We went down. Martin Wall, the guys that rode Tours of Britain, big international racer, and Sean was there. And we had a ball. And the best of it was, Sean was in good form because he no sponsor chasing him. I know, fellas, he was back where he started. I went out with a spin, and very, very funny. Well, you know that countryside, John, it's very, very hard. So I was with a few lads down there on the Saturday. We saw you along the Green Bay lawn, down the beautiful lawn down there near Warford way. A lovely sunny day, and I'll never forget going along. Cycling on, I looked to the right, and the sun was shining there, and it was dull and shining over there. And I said to one of the lads, Dennis McCarthy, Dennis, look at that. Jesus, you couldn't paint that. It's just even that. But the next morning then, it was bucking down rain, you know. And there was about 20 or 30 lads there in Carrick. And I didn't know. Years ago, you'd know all the guys to see, but now with the dark glass, the helmets and all, and then I slowly got to know them. But going along anyway, of course, they're all showing off. They're screaming loud. And Kenny said, look at them lads, said he. A load of Ford cats. They're riding like professionals. They can't do it in our race. I said, we had a great weekend down there and it was just fabulous. And that's what get me rocked on. We're going to have one shortly. We'll get the C19 out of the way. But the fellowship we have amongst... You might see a fellow for 6 months and you just pick up on him. And I think that the tragedy of men as against women. Women are great for talking to each other and all that, right? Men retire and let them go to pot because they are what they are, their jobs. So you have to, God help a lot of men, they're not full person. And then they come home and they don't know what to do themselves, you know. Yeah. So I'm very fortunate in that respect that I still have the circle and we meet and we... And then as Thursday was the first day we officially go out with a group. I've been going on my own at work. You get fed up, but I still enjoy the thing. But we were out the lads, the gang was out on tour, we had a great spin, a cup of coffee, and we sort all the world's problems out. We have a great time. That's where you get me rocked off on, you know?
No, it's like I'm constantly jumping from one thing to the other, and it's like I'm evolving. And like what you say, community, it's very important that to me. You know, I'm doing jiu-jitsu at the moment. I don't know what I'll be doing in 10 years' time. Hopefully I'm still doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, but when you're in the city and I was out there, you were chasing waves. Yeah. That's what you are.
And it's... what I like doing things that I get that feel-good factor out of, you know.
When you were only a kid, I told Max this, like Christian. He's about 7 or 8 years of age. And he said to me, he called me Sean. And everyone else called me Lal. I'm Sean. But do you fancy a bit of pitch and pour? I said, yeah, I'd love it. He's probably 6 or 7 at the time. I said to Paul, I'm going down to play pitch and pour. So I said, there's no point in keeping scores. You won that hole, I won that hole, you know. So we ended up, I think the 8th hole, there's a draw. Coming home, he said to me, you're not bad at that, are you? You only found out that if you don't it for 3 weeks. So even now, lad, in Sydney chasing the big waves with his surfboard, that. And then an Aussie chap used to come out with me for the spin. He went back to Australia. But it's very fun. What do you call that group? Kaluba group. Is that what they call it used to meet?
Oh, the Clutzy group in Sydney, Australia.
Group in Australia. Now you have all the big hitters. In the winter, it's their midsummer. So they'd be all back home from racing in Europe. And they just go. If you collapse and die, they just keep going. If you're punctured, they leave you. Now, the speed is horrendous. And I was telling them that you were going out with them. And said, how long will they hang on, mate? They go all the way. Jeez, there must be something. And then John told me, 28k an hour, 2 wrestlers, 2 everything, you know what I mean? What I'm saying to him is he says, he keeps jumping that. They're always like that. But you have an interest, that's the most important thing. Other fellas at your age and older, drinking at points, thinking what they should have done.
We can jump into that other world as well and try to be really good in there too, doing stuff we shouldn't be doing. In gaff parties at 5 o'clock in the morning. We can jump from one to the other kind of easy.
The thing, you know what I mean? You hadn't woke up in the morning. What to do with that last night? Oh, gee, what did I do with that?
Weekend.
We're all frail human beings, but push comes to shove.
100%. Now, but and the masculinity part to talk about is it's that. Like talking to other people, you know, of that what's going on in your head, you know, and it's not like I message a lot of young fellas and they're in their 20s and just send them off a message. And the reason why I do that is because sometimes there mightn't be a male figure there, and this is all about masculinity for me. Isn't just being about macho. It's about looking out for young fellas that might be going down a bad road or might be struggling, or, you know, just whacking them off a message, because it's very easy to get swallowed up by them pitfalls that are out there, you know what I mean, to drag you down bad roads or drag you into places you don't need to go, you know. So that's, for me, that's what the masculinity that we spoke about before downstairs, what this is all about, looking out for each other, you know, looking out for each other and seeing how we're getting on, you know.
But through all my craziness, you're going to laugh at this. In there, I found he had a turbo trainer in the gymnasium in Pat's.
Yeah.
So I says to him, bring in me cycle shorts and me shoes and a jersey.
Yeah.
What do you want them for? Just bring them in. So I decided then I'd do 20 minutes every day, which I did. I got me out of bed in the morning. I was doing 20 minutes. Although I was pilled up to, you know what. Talk about it. Now, this definitely should be in Port Round, not in St. Pat's. They used to let me out for the weekend, you see. You get out on Friday night, and the Saturday I says to him, I had it back in Sunday night. I said, take her down to Curls, there's a race on, you know. Yeah, come on, off you go, you know. I went down. You won't believe this. It's a hard old circuit. And the last lap I got away another fella, you know. And I won't mention the chap's name because he had a bit of trouble himself. And he won the race and I was second. Now, nobody in that bunch knew. I was at the hospital the day before. Yeah. And only recently I told him, you know that weekend? Fuck off, he said. That's right, yeah. And that's how... And then the doctor said to me, you do much weekend? I had a bit of sleep. That's pretty good for you. That was it, right? But the craziness, I still wanted to do that. Yeah. Despite being very sick.
Yeah. How's me dad getting on? He's in training away on a turbo trainer in a psychiatric facility, so he's all right.
Yeah, but it's a chap there, a lovely lad. One of the fellas said actually, who one of the failures. And God help me, he's in bed there 3 days and nights. If you get to bed, you leave you there. And one morning I says to him, "Will you get out of that bed? You wasn't eating right, you know. Just get out." How he did. I said, "You should go for a little walk." They looked at he was a weightlifter. I'm sick of that. Go down and look at the gym. Went down. Next day, I might do a little bit, you know. And he got out before me and he thanked me. Yeah. Sean says, you pushed and I didn't realise it. And he walked out there and I said, "I know you'll be over here shortly." And here was like, I get that man straight and I'm in bits. You know, but I knew he needed that push.
Yeah.
You know,
and I suppose we'll wrap this up at this, but like as we get older, or even if you're young, anxiety and depression is your body saying this way, letting you know this is not working out.
Definitely,
you need to look at something here, pal.
Sorry.
You know, and some people will choose the tablets and God help them, and some people really struggling. There's no judgment here. But it's about looking after yourself mentally, spiritually, emotionally to get a bit of recovery, because that's what worked for you, because I watched it all, I've seen it all, I've seen all the years and years, and this didn't happen over a couple of months. This is years, you know. And it's great to be able to get you on my podcast a second time. And
yeah, but when any lads ever approach me, the first thing I say, "Are you sleeping?" And 99 times out of 100, I'm not. And no, I think us human beings, especially men, we don't appreciate how important rest is. And speak to people. There's loads of great help out there. You're never on your own. And loads of people walking on the street and in ferocious trouble, and we don't realise it.
Remember me and you were doing a job, it was probably 15 years ago. And I'm a big believer. I'm a big believer in the spiritual world. I'm a big believer in there's no such thing as coincidence. None. It's God's way of leaving you messages to look at or disregard. Me and you were working in a job, and do you ever hear the saying, the men in the white coats?
Yeah.
Do you remember this? And your mum was upstairs in bed.
That's right.
So this bloke had a high profile job, I'm not going to name what it was, but it was high profile, and I knew who he was. And you hear the men in the white coats, and I always remember, we're in doing the job. This was a job we were doing. It was taking us 2 weeks in this big house. And the men in the white coats, the ambulance pulled up outside, and 2 blokes get out of it and go in to get him, to section him. And I always remember looking at him. I was a bit younger at the time, and he's like, no, 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 no. And them dragging him out, putting him in the back of the ambulance and driving off. So, and there, that's no such thing as coincidence. You can acknowledge these little messages that get left for you along the way. The way that bloke was living his life wasn't working out for him. Obviously,
yeah.
It was a high pressure job, and he was burning the candle at a few ends. You know what I mean?
I know I was in the middle as well.
And I remember just like looking at that, and this was before you even got sick. That's how long ago it was. And I remember kind of looking around and all these little things, and then what happened to you, and it's kind of, you can just disregard them or take them on board, you know. But I hope this podcast may help a couple of people.
Hopefully.
Get involved in your community. Get involved in doing things that you like doing, and working yourself to the bollocks. You only get one life. You only get one life.
This is the big picture.